News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbert, darkhookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian, and raise your glass today for Guinness World Records Day.
Guinness World Record Day. Okay, there's a rich history there, so I know we're going to get into that a little bit later on. That's interesting. I don't know. Some of that stuff's really unpleasant to look at. Don't open the Guinness Book of World Records while you're eating. That's all I'm going to say.
Or do.
No, don't do it. So, all right, that's good, Max. We're gonna find out more about that shortly. If you want to get in touch with us today, it's a great day to do it. We have a lot of interesting items on the table, and you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989.
Help us set a world record for amount of texters texting
That
today.
would be good. Hey, let's do that. How many let's set a world record for the most texts on Tool Talk Radio. So that sounds like a good plan, Max. You can also follow us. Go to @Tool Talk Radio over on Facebook. Make sure you use the @ symbol. And let's see. That's good. You can catch all our past episodes at tooltalkradio.com. May as well get all the digital plugs out of the way. Well, Allan, speaking of calling or texting, we got a great text from a Susie. She sounded desperate, but she is an ideal texter, folks. She sent us video footage. She sent us pictures with detailed images of what we need. We needed, all the information, very well articulated text message. But poor Susie, she's got possums on the back porch.
Oh, yes.
Which sounds like the name of a country western song. So, but Susie, you texted us like right at the end of the show, so we're going to address that today on our text line. I'd call this a text line / Critter Wars.
Absolutely.
In our Great Moments in Building History, this is a multifaceted discussion. We're going to talk about the town of Pullman, Illinois, which, it's just, there's so much you could say about this situation. It's basically speaks of repurposing. It speaks of efficient use of your resources, but it also speaks of sometimes not anticipating the future. Let's just say that. You got to have a well-laid plan for that. And Allan's Weekend Review, replacing a poorly installed fire pit. Hopefully the fire department wasn't called.
You don't want to hear the word boom.
And and also, this is going to be good, flooring adventures, and also curbside pickup, which is not what you think it is. It's but it's going to be a good discussion, and I think it's going to be something that we can all lean into. And we have a lot more. So it's all coming at you today on Tool Talk Radio. But before we get to any of that, this is a good one, Al. This is a recent purchase of mine. This is our must-have item of the week. And it's, of course, you can see it great on radio. However, if you go to our Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, I posted a really nice picture. It even illustrates what it is. But tell people what I'm holding up.
You were holding up the infamous laser level.
Well, and I make the distinction because this is a floating laser level. It's really compact. It's about the size of a tape measure, really, like a chunky tape measure. But if you want to imagine this, folks, it's got a cross, so it's like a vertical and horizontal line that it projects. And so when I say floating, you're like, what does that mean? Well, what it means is if you set this on a stable, surface, or if you have something, I have a tripod I set this on. If you set it on a stable surface and you get it to the height that you want, you'll notice it's like wiggling back and forth. Well, that's because it's floating and it's finding the level plane, and then it projects laser beams really across the entire room. It's pretty cool. I tested it. I mean, you could put this thing 50 feet away and it projects a level. We didn't have these growing up, Allan, but
no,
gosh, I
we
love
had
these.
Plumb bobs and somebody that goes, that's crooked, right? Yeah.
Now, this is the $40. This is the $40 option. You said you have like the $200 option. Because this one, I noticed it flickers on and off as it's finding its level.
Yes.
Is that just part of the thing? It's
right. And once it goes stable, it goes stable. But it turns off like if somebody, let's say you set it on the top of a ladder.
Oh, yeah.
So you're sitting up there, it bobs
it's
around for a second, and it locks in.
Right.
However, your assistant doesn't pay any attention to the fact that you said, don't bump the ladder 12 times.
Right.
And careens into the ladder.
Right.
And we all know this is true. So whoever is helping is automatically going to bump into the ladder. The laser goes off while it reconfigures itself and then comes back on.
Right.
And it does that to stop you from following an incorrect line.
Yeah, which I appreciate, because it's basically the fail safe, I guess you could say. What else is interesting about this laser level? Well, for one thing, it's not terribly dangerous. You could let your kids use it. However, don't let them point it in each other's eyes.
First thing they're going
Don't
to try.
torment the cats. The cats go nuts with this thing. Although I did find out by testing it on my cat, but
Oh yeah.
But the other thing is one of the cool things about this laser level is how often do we say it, Alan? Our houses move. Our houses
Yes.
flex and move. And it's interesting when you put this. I had this up on a tripod the other day, and I'm on a slab. Our house is on a slab. And I'm telling you, man, if I even barely stepped across the floor, that thing jiggled. Mm-hmm. Everything moves. And so, you had to wait for it to settle again. But it's just a reminder that, our houses are highly flexible. But
well, now I'll tell you the best use for that in the world ever is when you've cleaned out the living room, you've repainted everything, and now you'd actually like to hang the pictures correctly.
Well, bingo. That's what I was going to say.
That is, oh my gosh, having a broadcast laser level is absolutely a necessity because it's not that you aren't going to interrupt the beam and you're going to be in the middle of it, but you've got that constant reminder that's where the top of the picture needs to go.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is a $40 investment. This is something good to have in your home.
Oh, yes.
If you're not using it often, though, take the batteries out because you're going to open it on a day you need it, and they're going to be corroded. But that's exactly right because you know the type of pictures where, there's maybe you have that picture. It's 3 feet across, and it's got the wire cable holding it, and you never really feel like it's level. You keep moving it to the right or to the left. Well, this is sort of the foolproof way to do it. So.
I've even used one of those putting in a fence.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. I've just used a hand level. I've never used a laser level.
Well, use the laser level to give you that broadcast all the way down the fence. So when you're trying to put in the top restraining board, you're putting in where you're going to nail the fence into, we would push it up to we actually mark the boards 1 inch.
Right.
And you would push that board into position to where the 1 inch mark and the laser light hit each other. And that way you knew you actually had your 2x4 run level.
Now, I'm stealing that idea because I've used the string and board method. I've used, like for decks and everything.
We still use the string across the top to make sure all that was nice and level. But to just kind of pretty up the inside look of the fence. We use that to get those 2x4s nice and straight and level.
Yeah, okay. So multi-purpose. It's a great tool. The floating laser level, I think that's what they call them, but you'll find them. And when you go to your big box store, you're going to see all different price ranges. You're going to go, why is that one $40 and why is this other one $350? Well, there's, depending on how hardcore you are. But get yourself, if you're a casual user like me, the $40 one works great.
Beautiful.
So. All right, so Max, tell us about this. Tell us about this holiday of yours.
Well, Guinness World Record Day is meant to commemorate, as the name implies, Guinness World Records. And it has a sort of funny story about how it started, but it's also pretty predictable and it's very Irish.
Okay, because it is named after the booze, right? After the beer.
It's named after the brewery
Well,
company.
it is actually by the company that makes it.
Right.
So on November 10th, 1951, the managing director of Guinness Breweries, Sir Hugh Beaver,
Yes.
he was curious about what the fastest game bird was in Europe whilst he was at a shooting party in Ireland. He was unsure whether or not it was the golden plover or the red grouse. And after a few rounds of arguments, and I imagine many stouts, he discovered that there was no single book that he could reference to confirm his facts. And so he wanted to make sure he realized that he also liked the idea of trying to find a book where people could easily fact check stuff for arguments such as this that usually started at bars.
Yeah, I was about to say, this sounds like it came out of a pub.
Out of a pub,
Yeah.
yes.
So with the help of another buddy, another fellow employee at Guinness named Christopher Chataway, he recommended two of his friends who were fact checkers in London by the name of Norris and Mark McWhirter. And by 1954, they were commissioned to compile the Guinness Book of World Records, which was then established in 1955, with the first edition having 198 pages. And it eventually it became one of the best sellers in Britain by Christmas time. And then it got so popular in the U.S. that it sold 70,000 copies. And in 1976, in the Empire State Building, they actually made a Guinness Book of World Records museum.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, this makes total sense to me. And my mother was born in Tipperary. I'm 50% Irish, so I'm fully allowed to say this stuff. It makes sense to me that you get a bunch of Irishmen in a bar and they're arguing about some fact or other, and well, we need a way to settle
who
this.
Who threw the fastest fastball? Who hit the longest golf shot?
Right.
Who did? Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense to me that this would originate out of that, but I didn't. Okay. Anyway,
we actually got a text/video in from one of our buddies. Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
He sent a video about the highest tandem skydive in the world.
Highest tandem skydive. Okay. And video?
Yeah.
How high does it say how high it was?
42,018 feet.
How many miles is that?
That is the edge of space.
That's the
They
atmosphere.
needed air. They needed air.
He actually
Yes.
is the one that did this Guinness World Record, which is pretty impressive.
Wait, Alex did this?
Yep.
Really?
Congratulations, Alex.
You lived.
How do we verify that? That's pretty exciting.
Well,
He
you
lives
look it
here
up in the
Memphis?
Guinness World Book of Records.
Wait a minute. This is pretty big. We've got a celebrity on our text line, Max.
Yes.
Well, find out more. Let's get some more information about Alex.
Hey, Alex, you need to give us a call.
Alex, this is exciting, man. So, well, here we go. Like we said, Max's goal is to set a world record for the most texts on the Tool Talk Radio text line, and Alex is off to a great start.
901-683-0989.
All right. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Ow! Those gears down there really hurt.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we also invite you to go to check us out on Facebook. Go to @ToolTalkRadio. In a minute, shortly, we're going to get to Susie. I hope you're listening, and if you're not, we'll probably get back in touch with you. But Susie texted in with a urgent request about a possum that's invading the back porch, and it seems like against all her efforts, she's still getting in. So the possum is still getting in. So we're going to discuss that on today's Critter Wars. But I teased this at the beginning of the show, and for lack of a better term, we're going to call this curbside pickup. And it's not really probably what you think it is. So, that's a little more apropos, Max. So, well, it's funny, Allan. I was driving to the studio today, and I always take a particular street. Now, I take the little side streets. I guess that's just from all my years of growing up in Chicago, bypassing all the heavy traffic and everything. But there's an entertainment center that has been sitting out at the curb for the last 3 weeks of somebody's house, and it got me thinking of we're big believers in don't just throw something out. If you have something that's maybe you don't want it, but somebody else may want it, stick it over at the curb. Maybe somebody will pick it up. That happens to me all the time, but partly because I live on a pretty busy corner.
Right.
But I was thinking about some of the great finds we've gotten back in our younger days. We've picked up things from the curb. We have in my daughter's room, I can remember specifically in the year 1999, there was a little cabinet. It wasn't too big, but it wasn't too small. It was just sitting at our neighbor's curb. And I asked them, I said, what's wrong with it? They said, it's got a broken hinge. I'm like, okay. So whoop-de-doo. And it had a scratch. So I bought 2 hinges, painted the thing, and it's still there 20-something years later. So it's like, but I feel like there's a discussion here because I also think there's a certain etiquette. There's something, okay, I don't want your old mattress. No.
No.
But also, I mean, I think there's kind of an institution of putting things at the curb. And maybe out there, maybe you've had some great curbside finds, folks. So if you have, we'd love to hear about it. But what is your experience in this realm, Allan? So, I mean,
one, my favorite Disney song in the entire world is "Let It Go."
Now I'm going to have that song stuck in my head all
Good.
day. But yeah,
because it is the perfect song for this segment. Of more than 1 million times in my life, helping friends declutter, clean up, whatever, if I said, just put it on the curb, it'll be gone by morning.
mm-hmm.
And that's what putting it on the curb is all about. You're getting rid of it. If it goes in the dumpster, it goes in the dumpster. If it goes into somebody else's trailer, who cares? Big deal. It's out of your way.
Well, you're helping somebody. Somebody maybe,
My most recent curb story is I had a truck box from a previous truck that had been full of tools, and I hadn't cleaned it out yet. Well, I finally got around to cleaning it out, and no, it does not fit my current truck.
Yeah, those things are sort of specific.
They're very specific.
Right.
So, you know what I did? I went and drug it down, lined it up next to the curb, and about 4 hours later, and I will give this young person mad props. You did not have to knock on my door. I put it
polite,
at the curb.
yeah.
You put it at the curb, but I get a knock on the door, and I hear a very young voice on the other side. Hey, what are you doing with this truck box? And I said, it's all yours. It's all yours.
Right.
Walked out there and waved at them as they threw it in the back of their truck and headed off.
Well, there you go.
There wasn't anything fundamentally horribly wrong with it. It was old. It was used. But, they'll still be able to use it for something.
Well, there you go. That's one of the things I had in my notes here. So when it comes to curbside etiquette, I suppose I would say, I think it's a very good idea to put a note on there. Like, for example, we were getting rid of a refrigerator.
Get free to good home.
And we had a refrigerator, and what we said, basically the only thing wrong with this refrigerator was that the ice maker didn't work. Now, it was 21 years old. It was a ticking time bomb. And we happened to, I think we even discussed it on the show. We came across one of those great Labor Day sales where it was like 40%, we saved like $800. So we preemptively bought a new refrigerator. So I put a note on there. For one thing, I taped the doors shut so that they don't flop around, so the doors are sealed
Somebody's
shut.
pet didn't get caught in there.
Right.
Very good of you.
And I just said it works, 21 years old, broken ice maker. They know what they're in for. They don't have to knock on the door. They're not guessing what it is, But then there's other times where I've put stuff at the curb that I say, caution, this thing tipped over.
Right.
But I think, notes on a.
Yeah, well, you also get rid of a lot of pallets.
Yeah. Oh, pallets disappear in 20 minutes. So I don't know what it is about pallets.
You are the
pallets.
pallet corner.
Yeah,
but it is
I get a lot of
certain
pallets.
kinds of pallets that go. Other kind will sit there until they go in the dumpster.
Yeah, I don't get that either because it doesn't always have to do with the condition of the pallet, but there's some. I think we discussed that before too.
Mm-hmm.
The big slatted pallets, I don't know why they're not as popular as the small.
Nope. You can't make a table out of those as easily. Those little close slats, man. You can take another pallet, break it down, and you got an instant table for free.
Right. But we're gonna put that on the table too, because like we said, it's a Guinness World Record Day. Let's set a record for the most text. So if you've had a great curbside find, if you've got thoughts about the proper etiquette, I'm sure there's things we're leaving out. That's a theme today.
Well, I'm of the opinion if you put it at the curb, you're trying to get rid of it. And I love your idea of just put a quick note on it, say free to a good home. And maybe whatever is horribly wrong with it.
Let
it go.
This isn't so much of an issue today, but you know this growing up. Back in the day, because we all rode bikes everywhere.
Yes.
Don't be that idiot kid that parks your bike right on the sidewalk.
Nope.
Well, for one thing, it'll probably get stolen. But back in the day, I remember that. There's the question. It's like, is this in the giveaway zone or is this in just I parked it on my lawn zone? So clearly define. Get that thing right up on the curb where it's unmistakable that
absolutely.
This is free. So, all right. So that's on the menu today, but it's time to shift gears. So,
That's the most foul,
That's
cruel,
appropriate.
and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on.
I just wanted to hug.
Oh, rats in the kitchen, just like that delightful movie I taped in the theater.
And of course, that's our Critter Wars sign. You couldn't have made a shorter production out of that, Max? Now we have like...
Got to be epic.
Jeez, okay. Anyway, it's time for Critter Wars / text line. Now, Susie, I hope you're listening, and if not, maybe she can get a link to the show afterwards. But Susie texted in with like 30 seconds to spare last week, but this was a text. This was the kind of text we like. Lots of clearly defined information, great actual footage, like Ring doorbell camera footage of the possum getting in, and pictures. Well, she's got a screened-in porch, really nice-looking backyard, nice-looking porch, but a possum has grown to appreciate this dwelling and is getting in. It looks like it's chewing in through the screen.
It is.
And it looks like she's got a kennel out there that makes me wonder if there's food out there or something. So, Allan, she's having no luck keeping this thing out. She did say she tried a tactic of putting a cat bowl of food way in the back of the yard as a peace offering or something.
That doesn't work.
They don't care. And we don't even know who's eating that now, right? You're
Well,
probably attracting
now you got
more
possums and deer.
All right,
Yeah,
well, we need to help poor Susie because she doesn't want to just put up barbed wire on her nice screened-in porch. But what are we going to do for her? So.
Okay, what I'm going to say is one. Now, she's already done most of this.
Okay.
So I'm going to give advice that really will apply to everybody else, and then we'll get to her. One, make sure the area the critter's getting to is clear. Needs to be weed-eated or whatever. You don't want a bunch of stuff where they can hide, where they can break into the house.
Kind of like the Great Escape. It's just a big open area, and they're going to be spotted.
They're going to dump. Right now is also the perfect time ever to sneak down to your local hardware / big box store, because there are about, I think last count, there were no less than 10 or 15 different kinds of solar-powered, motion-activated floodlight for sale in Christmas kits, for half price.
Oh, I didn't know that affected possums.
So, all right, any nighttime critter wants dark and secluded.
Okay.
For their nefarious activities. So if you have dark, secluded areas, you can very, very inexpensively now add solar-powered lights. And we'll talk more about that when we come back.
Interesting that light was your first go-to. Okay, this is getting intriguing. So Critter Wars, we're going to find out how we can help poor Susie win the battle. And we're going to do that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Barnacles! What could be worse than a giant paint bubble?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorgerson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, especially if you've got any good stories about things you found at the curb. If you've got, curbside pickup, we're calling this. If you've got any thoughts about the proper way to dispose of things, the hardest thing you've ever had to get rid of at the curb. And
I feel like Deuce has got some good stories about this.
Yeah, Deuce, I don't want to.
I do.
Okay, but if you've got that, or if you want to chime in, today is National Guinness Book of World Records Day. We actually got a text from Alex, who claims to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. We're going to verify with Alex after the show. It sounds pretty interesting. Alex sounds like an interesting dude. It says the world's highest tandem skydive, and we're talking, you need oxygen up there, right?
Yeah, 42,000.
We're talking getting up close to the atmosphere. So, and of course, at the moment, we're in the middle of helping one of our dear listeners, Susie, with her possum problem that's destroying her back porch.
That sounds like an album.
Yeah.
Or a band name.
in Critter Wars. So we're going to return to that in just a moment, Susie. Before we get to that, though, of course, we want to discuss our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. There we go. I don't know if he has issues with possums. Are they attracted to AC units? I don't.
They'll nest behind them. Yeah,
that could be something.
Yeah,
you don't
can
know
run
what
into
problem.
one. Yeah, you could run into one.
Well, Larry Brown has seen it all. He's going on. Boy, we're getting close to the 50-year anniversary of Brown Refrigeration, and in that time, we were talking about it. Boy, he is in the right business in the right place. There's nothing more important than the proper conditioning of the air in your home, which also involves the cleanliness of the air, the proper humidity levels. It's a really tricky thing here in the Mid-South. We get the weirdest weather. It's humid. It's dry. You need somebody that's has that expertise. Of course, Brown Refrigeration is always working with state-of-the-art technology and beyond, because one of the things that Larry Brown does, in addition to always staying current with the latest technology, is looking ahead 5 or 10 years as to where it's going, which helps you as the consumer to map out the best plans for your HVAC unit. But he really is all about the maintenance of your HVAC unit too, which is why it's a good idea to get Brown Refrigeration out to your home once or twice a year to make sure that your unit is operating properly, that that there's no issues, and if there are, they'll be able to anticipate those and help you with that. They work with Train Systems. They also work with the Remy Halo system, which produces the cleanest air possible in your home. And it's just great working with Brown Refrigeration because, as we say, they have a great business culture. They have great financing, and they answer their phones. We love the work that they do with Brown Refrigeration. You can call them directly at 901-362-1881 or go to their website, brownref.com. All right. Well, before the break, we were discussing poor Susie, and you said something that was interesting to me because we're apparently this possum is chewing holes in the wall through the screen of her porch. The first thing you said was surprising to me. You started talking about floodlights and things like that. Okay.
Well, it's kind of like any other form of building security.
Yeah.
If it can be seen, it probably doesn't want to do it.
Right.
So, now normally,
wait, hang on. It's just because you're making me think. Are possums concerned about light because it makes them visible to predators and things like that? Okay, so that's their natural. This has nothing to do with the porch. This is just they don't like the light.
For our dear listeners outside of the South or the Mid-South, what is a possum? A possum is a marsupial that looks for all the world like the very worst Mickey Mouse.
I got news for you, Allan.
They got big round ears, a big shaggy gray body, and a long naked tail. So they are not the most attractive of creatures.
We had possums in San Diego. So they're widespread.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
But not everybody has ever seen one. It's like an armadillo. You saw a dead one on the side of the road, but you've never seen a live one.
That's a good point. And you don't see them often.
Possums are very secretive. And a reason you don't want to harm them, the reason I'm like, get a gun, and no. Possums are renowned for eating small pests.
Interesting.
So the things you don't want around your yard, they find tasty.
Okay.
And you've attracted the possum because you have created something tasty or you've created a good habitat.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. Why are they going into
In this
poor
particular
Susie's
case, looking at the way her patio was set up and judging by the fact that I saw a kennel out there in the picture of there is another animal present or there is animal food present, and a possum is an opportunist, and they're going to pop in for a quick snack.
Well, I mean, let's face it, chewing through a screen is nothing for them.
As those lovely screens we put up to keep out the mosquitoes mean nothing to our major two contenders, which are squirrels and raccoons.
Yeah.
The possum was a little bit of a surprise, but not really. They're very resourceful creatures. So he's come along and he found a corner where he could push in. Now, if he had been surprise lit up on the way into the porch, he would have turned around and gone away.
Really?
So, when
Okay.
that light comes, well, it's the shock. It's the I'm in the dark, I'm doing my thing, I'm in the dark, doing my thing, blam, flashlight. Oops, time to go.
Okay.
Time to go the other way, because obviously you've been seen.
Okay, you're making me think, though, because we've talked about the intelligence of raccoons and everything. And we said, you've said it before many times. Once raccoons figure out car keys, our civilization is over.
Oh, they're a direct competitor.
Okay, well, are possums similar where, like, a possum, okay, the initial shock, they move, they notice the light comes on, but they're really hungry and they want that cat food. So do they figure out another route and they figure out until...
They can, which brings me to defense level number 2.
Okay, DEFCON 2.
DEFCON 2. DEFCON 2 means you get to get decorative.
Okay.
Go to your local hardware big box store. Go to the metal fabricating part. They have those little bins sitting there, and they usually have pre-printed tin or aluminum cutouts. And they come in different sizes.
Yeah.
But they are usually rectangular or square, and they've got a pattern cut out of them, like an old pie safe or something. And these are the perfect things to put in those lower corners. You screw them in, bend one edge flat, and screw it in. So now you have got extra metal protecting these corners. And it's a hard enough metal that even a raccoon wouldn't be able to dig through it.
Okay, I have a question because we have those. Well, for one thing, they're not inexpensive because we have a panel. We have one of those exact panels that you're talking about. It's about, the one we have is about 10 inches tall and probably 18 inches wide. It's to hide a vent from, it's whatever.
Right.
It's okay, it's decorative. We even painted it and everything. But man, I can't imagine what it's like. We're talking probably you'd almost need 40 feet of this to run around the bottom.
Just to cover that corner. Now, if you want to
wouldn't they just go to the next side?
They're going to try the weaknesses, and the corners where they can get some purchase is always going to be your weak spot.
Well, that was my question because what I was wondering is that we know possums can climb. But would it be harder? I mean, my thought was, okay, you protect the bottom 2 feet of the screen,
right?
Well, is it easy for them to just climb up the 2 feet, or climb up the beam holding the screen on, and then chew sideways, or are they better? Because I wonder if that's too awkward for them to do. So,
all right, nothing is too awkward for a motivated critter.
I'm going to put that on a T-shirt.
And
so,
your house,
that's pretty good.
I'm going to pick on you for a minute.
Okay.
Your house was the perfect example of motivated critters.
But squirrels are different because we had squirrel invasion, but they're so small and they're flexible. You said they could squeeze
They're
down
small,
to
they're fast, they're intelligent. Right. Possums are none of these. Okay. They are slow, opportunistic, plodding little creatures.
Yeah.
At any point, you can stop them in their advance.
Okay.
Now, if you have a variety of critters in the backyard, and it could be chipmunks, mice, rats, guinea pigs, whatever, you can always get inexpensive, basically what we like to call hardware cloth,
okay,
which is just basically mesh, a heavier mesh screen.
That was going to be my suggestion. Get a
and
3
put that
foot
around and go up a foot or two around the bottom of your patio on the exterior, and you have now created a wire barrier that's not unattractive and will keep the little guys out on the lower side.
And Susie, if you are going to do this, I really recommend that hardware cloth. It's got little squares that are about a ½ inch apart.
Right.
If you lay it in there nice and straight, that was going to be my warning, though. Don't start on one end, staple the whole thing in, and then move, because you need to keep that thing level. What I would suggest is loosely put it into place, maybe with some temporary nails or something. Get it snug and start in the center and work your way around and out, because the best thing is having it nice and snug and discreet. You don't want it floppy and pinched and
Well, if
bending.
it's floppy, they're getting
it's
in.
gonna, and it won't look as good either.
And you don't want to befriend the possum.
Right. Keep the possum in their lane if you want, but
Right.
And I like your floodlight idea, and I like the idea of clearing just look for any place this thing could hide and get rid of it, I suppose.
Well, the other thing is also stop providing temptation.
Well, that's the thing.
I
We
know
got to
they're
figure out your
cute,
food situation.
but don't feed them.
All right. Well, Susie, we hope that please report back. Let us know if any of this was helpful. Hardware cloth's a cheap solution. You're going to spend $50. All right. And wow, what a drama. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I haven't seen you fellas since you destroyed my home, my land, and my rocket.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We've got a text on the line that we're going to address momentarily. And also, just to recap, if you're just tuning in, and Susie, if you're just tuning in, the answer to your question last week about the possum invading the screened-in porch is our suggestion is get about a 3-foot roll. It's usually 3 feet by, I don't know, you can get a 50-foot roll or a 25-foot roll, whatever you need, of hardware cloth. When you pick it up, it's going to be back in the fence area of your big box store. You'll see what we mean, the little squares. It's a little more decorative looking, and if it's only decorative looking if you put it in correctly. So my suggestion is you start off, you get the entire thing level, loosely put it into place, and I start in the center and work my way out and around, if that's how it is. You get heavy-duty staples, and Allan's great suggestion about getting yourself some solar-powered floodlights. Those babies are bright. We have them in our backyard. They work really good. We've had them up for a year and a half, and they still function perfectly. The technology has definitely improved on those.
Oh, yes.
And that'll shock the poor possum into fleeing, and also remove the temptation. Don't be leaving food on your back porch.
Nope.
Sorry, Susie. Your pet's dietary plans are going to have to change, I guess. So, all right, but let us know how that works. But Max, you said we got a text over there. Is this on theme?
It is on theme.
Okay.
And as we said, we're trying to break a Guinness World Record for our for our number of texts. So thank you to Randy for helping us get it kicked off too. He said, I was going to move last year, so I started downsizing. The first thing to go is my lawnmower, which worked great but had no grass catcher. And so he sold it for $75, but the deal on the new house fell through. So he's like, so this year I had no lawnmower until I drove by and I saw this free lawnmower, which was a newer model with a grass catcher. After investing less than $15 for a spark plug and an air filter, it works great.
How many times, Randy, nice job, man. So, okay, you're going by and somebody, okay, I don't know who was getting rid of the lawnmower, but it's funny. What is that one famous quote, for want of a nail, an empire falls, or something like that? And so, how many times have we seen that? A spark plug will put you out of business if it's corroded, if it's dirty, and what does it cost? $3 or $4 to get a spark plug and an air filter if it's not working, if it's clogged up.
There's so many little things that you have to check sometimes.
Right.
It's kind of like the old school. Did you unplug it and plug it back in? With a lawnmower, the obvious are always going to be spark plug, fuel.
Yeah.
So is it got gas in it? No. Has it got oil in it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have a spark plug in it? When was the last time you changed that spark plug? Because I have a whole raft of friends that, every spring it's like, so, Allan, we're cooking lunch today. When you coming by? It's you want me to look at your lawnmower?
Right.
So I got to unscrew, look at the spark plug, make sure it's in good shape, and clean the air filters. And, so you do this stuff, it works great. You don't do it, somebody else will do it for you.
Yeah, good job, Randy. And you said Randy sent a picture. Okay.
And of the receipt too, and I confirmed that yes, it was less than 15.
Awesome. That's what we're all about, and that's what curbside, the curbside culture is all about. I mean, why not reuse it? Why just throw something out? And
Absolutely.
It's nice that somebody can bring it back to life. So,
And also, by the way, that For Want of a Nail quote is by Benjamin Franklin.
okay, yeah, I knew there was something profound about that. So, but there was one other thing about Randy's. Oh, that was one other thing I was going to say. That conundrum of the spark plug or the oil, it's one of the things that's converted me over to my electric lawnmower. We don't have those issues, man, because a lawnmower is funny. You use it quite a bit in the summer. It's exposed to dust and dirt and everything, and then it just sits all winter.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't think to drain the oil or drain out the gas, and it gets corroded and it gets humidity in there. And it's very, one little thing goes wrong and it doesn't work, but then you have to diagnose what's wrong and all that. And, an electric mower, you stick the battery in and you get going. I just prefer that. So
Yep. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm the one that converted you to batteries.
you did. So that's one of the reasons I've shifted gears. So, all right. Well, I think I teased this at the beginning of the show. This isn't a Critter Wars. This is actually This is a home improvement for your animals.
Absolutely.
Which I'm right in the middle of, and I feel like there's a lot of people. I'm seeing there's more of a trend. We keep hearing about catios, and as a matter of fact, we're about to embark on enclosed. We have a back porch that is open. It's not enclosed, and we're getting ready to enclose it, but we want to enclose it in a way that's safe and also cat-proof, so our cats aren't running out of the or clawing their way out or
and so you
like
will
that.
be using hardware cloth instead of screen.
Right. But I'm going to design it in a way that's taking all that into account. But this job I'm on, which I'm really winding up, I'm getting near the end of this project. I'm kind of sad. It's really been a nice project that's ongoing. It's if you're just new to Tool Talk Radio, I'm building a laundry room and a very large carport for a home in Midtown. And they have two dogs, Scruffy and Lady. Okay, and they need they basically this laundry room is right off of the driveway, and it goes right into the carport, and it's a perfect. I've already installed a doggy door, and so the thing is though, this dog door is about 2 feet off the ground, and it leads to the backyard. So we already knew I was going to have to build a ramp or something to let him go out. But I want to really think this through, and for want of a better word, I'm saying ramp, but I want to get your expert opinion on this. I sort of am souring on the idea of a ramp because, for one thing, it means I would have wood resting on on concrete, which I don't want. So I decided, what if I because it's about an 8-foot run. It's going to, from where the dog door is to where we want to drop the dogs off onto the driveway. I thought, what if I have a 4-foot, okay, we drop down 8 inches or something like that. Have a platform that goes across 4 feet, then have another platform, for lack of a better term, 2 large steps rather than a ramp. I liked it because it would be above, there would be no wood coming in contact with the driveway. And I also thought, well, dogs could slide. What if it's wet out? Or what if
absolutely.
These are big, goofy dogs, too, and I could see that.
They're going to rump and stomp and play, and yeah. So,
what are your thoughts, and what are warning things not to do? I'm not attaching this to the house in any way. It's technically going to be up against the house, but
correct.
It is not going. I'm not putting any holes in the siding or any of that. I don't want any place where water can get in.
Okay.
So
perfect. Of the fact you've got a dog door and you got big lumpy dogs.
yeah.
My hat goes off to you. Absolute salute. Enjoy your animals. Don't make them a pain.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So I am a massive candidate for I'm going to say pet etiquette and design. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the big thing, if you're not going to have a ramp and you're going to have platforms, you can always go in and put in anti-skid strips.
Well, I was wondering how well those hold up. Now, this part of the home is going to get a lot. It's totally exposed to rain
like you put in
everything.
a shower.
Yeah. Does that hold? Well, okay.
You can make them hold good.
I didn't know if they mildew and get weird. Or,
Well, that's why you get the ones that go in the shower.
Or cause the wood to rot underneath it.
Oh,
you know my feelings about that.
You're not going to cover enough of the wood to cause that problem. It's going to dry.
Okay.
It's going to dry. But I would put at least a little something for an anti-skid to keep, just because when it gets wet and the dog's claws, they're going to push and pull on that wood. Great ideas. I think are fantastic. Make sure they just have room. And you might want to put a little something where there's a step down.
Yeah.
You might want to put, just like for a human, you might want to put a reflective strip right there so the dog sees it as well.
Well, I was thinking of something like that. I also want to make the platform wide enough so that when they step out of the door, they have room to turn, because these are pretty good sized dogs.
Right.
I had an unorthodox way to give it some texture on the floor, though. What do you think of this? Because I'm using treated wood. I mean, I'm sorry. I know it's okay. But I was going to take like 50 grit sandpaper, like the most coarse sandpaper I could get, and scuff up the surface as plan A.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, then it's not as slick. It's going to, and of course, it'll get more porous as it fills up with rain and things like that.
Right.
What do you think of that?
I'm totally game
then
with that.
The wood breathes,
Yep.
because I'm a big fan of that.
Yep.
And I am putting a cover on so that the wind and everything, because it faces north, and when the wind blows, this thing, I don't want water or anything. But my idea was I was going to make an enclosure so that they step out, almost like I'm thinking of like the tunnels you go when you're boarding an airplane.
Yeah.
But not touching the house, but maybe an inch away or something.
Yeah,
But,
well, we need pictures.
yeah, we'll have some closing thoughts on that when we come back here. Hour 1 is in the can, but stay tuned for hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And if you're just tuning in, I don't know if we're going to break the record today, Max. Today is Guinness Book of World Records Day, and Max put out the proposition that we should try to break the record for the most text messages we've ever received on Tool Talk Radio. We've gotten some, but...
and it doesn't count if you just say like the as the text. It's got to be genuine.
At least send us something with some... But we did hear from Alex, who claims to have...
he sent us proof, by the way.
And he is. He's in the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest tandem skydive in history.
42,000 feet.
We got a great text from Randy with pictures of a great curbside find that he found, a lawnmower. He found a lawnmower at a curb, spent $15 on a spark plug and air filter, and it's working perfectly.
And he said that he kind of agrees with you about electric lawnmowers. He said his neighbor let him borrow an electric lawnmower for a few cuts. He loved it, but free trumps a new $900 electric mower.
You can't argue with that. Free is always gonna work. I know we got another text that we're gonna get to in a minute. Well, let's just get to that now. Go ahead, Max.
Well, caller 7133 said, "Hey, tool guys, you could use porch paint that has that grit in it."
Let me
I guess context.
Yeah, let me give some context. If you're just tuning in, before the break, I was talking about a project that I've been on for a long time. We're hitting the final touches. This is a laundry room coming off the house. It's basically its own freestanding room, and it's pretty spacious for a laundry room. And off the laundry room is a door. It's a doggy door, and I'm going to install not a ramp. I'm going to install like a step platform, if that makes sense, like a 4-foot step, then another 4-foot step. And I was talking about non-skid on the floor and making it so when they run in, they're not just sliding around, especially if it's raining or something. And I'm sorry, dear caller, I'm going to respectfully disagree with your solution. I am firmly against ever painting any deck, let's just put it this way. I'm firmly against painting a high traffic horizontal surface. I've yet to see that hold up. I guarantee that at some point it's going to peel, but also what I don't like about that is that it it traps moisture. Moisture is always going to get in, and it has a lot of trouble getting out, and that's why you get rotting and peeling. I've yet to see a deck that the paint holds up for more than a year or so. I just don't like it. And then anyway, that's just my thing. I've always had this philosophy of let the wood be the wood. My solution for adding a little texture was going to be just scuff it up with like some 50 grit sandpaper or something. Yeah,
I like that idea.
And see what happens. But I appreciate the text, and that goes on to the list. So, we'll continue that. But I'll keep you posted, Allan, because this is something I'm getting ready to dig. Basically, my philosophy with this dog ramp, though, is going to be I'm not attaching anything to the house at all. It's going to be freestanding. I'm digging posts. It's going to sit right up near the house, but I don't want, for one thing, we talk about, movement. If I attach it to the house, there's going to be movement. Then it's going to cause a breach. Then water's going to get in, and it's going to weaken the side. I don't want to do that. So it's going to be its own freestanding structure. But I'll send pictures as it's built. But let's shift gears, you guys. So,
the humanity.
That horrifying sound can only mean one thing. It's fine. It's time to find out what Allan did this week in Allan's Week in Review.
Well, I finally earned the music.
Yeah, this one
I've
doesn't
had some
sound
positives.
good. This one sounds like you averted disaster, I hope. But
No. Disaster was fully achieved long before I was contacted. So
you either get the call after or
I wish I would get
in
the call
mid-disaster.
before. And,
Right.
and I will say this. Folks, when you ask an SME something, if you go to
What's
a subject matter expert.
Oh,
All right,
I never heard that
translation,
before. Okay.
that's somebody that knows more about it than you do.
Yeah.
And that can be questionable at times, but when you go to somebody and you go, this is what I'm going to do, and they go, well, this is why I wouldn't do that. You ought to pay attention. And the first word I'm going to add to this little tale of woe is the tale of popcorn.
Okay.
What does popcorn do?
Yeah, we know.
It pops.
Right.
But why does it pop?
Now, that's a good question. Why does it pop?
It pops because of trapped moisture.
I was thinking air, but okay.
Nope. It is because, there is air and moisture inside that kernel. And when it reaches a certain point, it explosively comes out, thus creating popcorn.
It is an interesting process when you think about it. That's an instant transformation.
It is. It's fascinating.
It's like expanding foam or something.
It's fascinating when it's popcorn.
Right.
It is not so much fun when it's a rock.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about a fire pit, right?
We're talking fire pits.
Okay.
It is fire pit season.
Exploding rocks are not your friend.
It's fire pit season. And, okay, let's take the idea of popcorn. Anything that can have structural flaws, doesn't heat evenly, or could possibly have moisture invasion. These are your enemies.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to have generally cold or wet up against flame.
Right.
So, and I look, Trent, as I tell
There's
people,
bound to be
you
some,
got to picture this. Now, when we put in a let's say like a gas stove, a lot of hot air and particulate are going to go up that pipe.
Right.
Which is why that pipe is actually a pipe within a pipe with airspace around it.
It's
So
pretty
that-
cool when you take one out. It's
When you cut one of these things across and you look at it, it's a pipe within a pipe with baffles.
right to kind of
And-
disperse the heat.
The idea is it's using air to insulate and keep the hot where it's supposed to be hot and the cool where it's supposed to be cool, so it doesn't set your house on fire. Okay, well, when you put in a fire pit, a lot of people are putting in, and they're getting more and more decorative.
Yeah.
I've seen some very elaborate, beautiful. I've seen the wood burning. I've seen the gas burning. Here is my tale of don't do this.
Yeah.
Do not use non-fire rated materials in your fire pit.
How do people find out what that is? Because I'm immediately thinking of cinder blocks or
Cinder
certain
blocks,
brick.
perfect,
I mean,
perfect
cinder
idea.
blocks get soaked with water. They're made from,
And
there's an adhesive inside.
there is, and there's lots of air.
Right.
There's lots of airspace.
Yeah.
So guess what a cinder block will do just fine?
Yeah.
It's going to dry out. Different concrete mixes can dry out just fine, especially quickset, because, it's not a dense, heavy concrete. There's not a high moisture content. So fire-rated brick. You've brick fireplaces.
Well, I was about to ask, how do you determine that? Like, if you're at your big box store, how do you know? I mean, I doubt it says on the thing.
Well,
fire-rated
any
or
aggregate that is a brick material generally is pretty good.
what do you mean aggregate? Like,
Like concrete. Anything like paver stones, bricks, that kind of things. Anything that was poured and cured generally has lots of holes in it, and air and water and all that can escape without exploding.
wait, now we just said that.
What I'm worried about is things you don't know about, like rocks.
Well, you said cinder blocks are bad.
Cinder blocks are good.
Oh, I thought they were. Okay,
No, cinder
I'm
blocks
confused.
are fabulous because there's nothing there to explode. There's nothing
Okay, it's
there
got
to
enough
hold it
breathing
in.
room. It's kind of
It's-
making my point about why I don't paint wood on a
Exactly.
porch.
Well, this goes right in with why you don't paint wood on
Right.
the outside.
Okay.
The trick is a cinder block also, when you look at a cinder block, also uses air as an insulator. That's why it's the big open spaces in it.
Okay.
That's why cinder blocks are used in so much construction everywhere, because it is a decent insulator. So a friend of mine a few years ago built a beautiful cinder block fire pit. She's had zero problems and numerous fires.
Okay.
Having a great time.
Well, it's easy to. I mean, literally, you could build one of these in 20 minutes if you have that enough cinder blocks. Just-
Well, they're heavier than that. So, yeah, about an hour.
okay. But you stack them together like Lego. And,
You stack them up. You make your configuration. Make sure
put
you
a little
can-
mesh over the top to.
Absolutely.
keep
Listen,
the-
make sure you got a little screen to keep stuff from flying out of it. The tale of woe here is someone got really cute and concreted in all of these pretty rocks they found at the creek near the house.
So, in other words, just grabbing that wet stone and it's very compressed and it's got trapped moisture.
And it probably
you heat
has
it
a
up.
structural failure somewhere in the rock where it's been crushed or hit or something. And when it got hot enough, that top of it came popping right on off.
Wow. Okay. Pretty exciting, but
Yeah, way too exciting. And it's kind of like, all right, well, how big of a fire did you have in this thing? And they went, oh, no, we had a big fire. And I'm like, all right, that's not what fire pits are for. Fire pits are for cute little fires, not bonfires.
What if they have a metal fire pit and they want to paint it or something? Well,
that painting ain't gonna make it.
okay. All right, pretty good. So you saved somebody from burning down their house this week.
Absolutely.
Not terrible. Pretty good week in review. Hey, this is going to be interesting. When we come back in our Great Moments in Building History, we're going to talk about the very dynamic town of Pullman, Illinois.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And a big thank you to everybody that's been texting in and sending pictures and really well-articulated texts. None of this goofy, with you've seen text these days. I think it's when people do the talk to text thing and it doesn't translate right, and there's all these weird phrases and things that come through. These are definitely well thought out texts. But before we get to our great moments in building history, we always defer to our texters. And so, Max, you said we got a couple more texts that came in.
7133, I guess, wanted to clear his or her name.
Okay.
And said, you can look it up, but I believe Orville Redenbacher spent a long time perfecting the exact percentage of moisture in his popcorn kernels.
Yeah, because Allan, you
Context.
were making a really good comparison. I think it's a good visual thinking about the right kind of material to use and the wrong kind to use for a fire pit. And when you explained how popcorn is made, that made a lot of sense to me, and why you don't just go to the river and pick up a bunch of rocks and stack them together and make a fire
just
pit.
Don't know where they've been, what they're going to do. And he or she is exactly correct. Orville Redenbacher was almost obsessed with finding or creating the perfect popcorn kernel. And the world is so much better for his efforts.
And in defense of caller 7133, I just want to say, because I respectfully disagreed with their solution about what I want to do for my dog platform. They suggested using a textured, putting the gritty texture into paint and painting the top surface. I didn't like that idea. However, in the right context, I love that idea. If it's a place that's not getting water, let's just put it that way.
If it were a protected area, I would agree with them.
If it's an enclosed area where it's not getting rained on, or even if it's getting a reasonable amount of moisture, so not a bad idea, just not for this application. So.
And that brings us to a perfect segue to our next caller, or texter rather, Dave. Said, what about composite deck boards on top?
Yeah, because what we're talking about is I was, just discussing the biggest thing for me with this dog ramp or dog platform, you want to say, it's coming out. These dogs, let's face it, these are pretty rambunctious dogs. It's not unheard of that they could be rolling around in dirt and tracking in things, and which is why they want to have this transition area for them in the laundry room. Well, the composite boards, I'm sure people have seen it if you go to the big box store. I like that stuff. It has its own issues, though. For one thing, you better like the color you pick out because you're stuck with it. That's and I think there's this sort of idea that these things are indestructible and whatever. If you put a hole through the side of these composite boards, if you don't pre-drill or if you over tighten and the screw head, the stuff can break. It's not as durable, in my opinion. It's not as forgiving as actual wood. You know what I mean?
The other one I have,
and it can curl and warp too.
Well, and I also have to wonder if concrete board isn't an option for what you're doing.
I don't think so. I mean,
There's
it's
different
too
kinds.
thin.
There's different
It
kinds.
works great for siding. But,
no. There's some nice thick stuff out there that you can use for bathroom walls that I.
But
just
I
got
want it to
using.
look good. I don't want some ugly whatever. But I will say composite decking, Dave, it's not a terrible idea. I just don't know if I'll do it. My only thing is I feel like it will be slicker
I don't
when
know
it
how
rains.
it would hold up to dog nails.
Well, I was thinking of that and just
because they
the
are really
slickness.
going to put a beating on this stuff.
Yeah. If it's drizzly or moist or whatever, it's going to... And there's going to be plenty of days where they're tracking through moisture and everything. I don't want them to slide. So I think composite decking has its place. I hate to say it, though. I think sometimes we give it more credit than it deserves. It's not indestructible. It like I said, you can damage it, and you better like the color because you're stuck with it. So, and it can fade as well. I think there's this other idea that it can't, and it's not all created equal as long as we're talking about there's different grades of composite decking. But all good text, you guys. We love to keep them coming in, and especially if you're out there. We've been talking about curbside pickups today. If you've got any great curbside finds, if you've got any thoughts about Guinness Book of World Records Day. We'd love to hear about that as well. But you guys, it's time to shift gears and pull out the big guns.
And now, great moments in building history.
Well, funny, how often have I said YouTube is pretty much responsible for about 90% of these great moments in building history, at least for me. The algorithms know you. They get to know the things that you look up. And I'm always looking up unique structures, unique build. There's some great YouTube channels that talk about, great engineering feats around the world. And came across this one. Actually, I think, Max, you're the one that told me about this. The town of Pullman, Illinois, which is, I think, south of Chicago. But
have you ever been?
If I have, I don't know it because it looks a lot different now than it did. But basically, we've probably all heard of the Pullman cars, right? Now, This company and I forget Pullman's first name, but Mr.
That
Pullman
would be George. George Pullman is who you're talking about.
made really nice back in the day. Trains were we're talking the late 1800s or mid to late 1800s, and trains were the transportation of the day. And his philosophy was, well, why can't we travel in comfort? These train cars that he produced were very nice. They had shock absorption. They were protected against the weather. They kept you from having to breathe in all the horrible steam and smoke that was emitted from the trains and everything. And Pullman's cars became very, very popular. So he needed to manufacture these. Well, he more or less created a town around this entire area. But the way they constructed it was very interesting. And there's a lot of lessons here about repurposing and harnessing, byproducts of your, of what you use and everything. And there's a great sort of, it's a really great example of planning, but also a warning tale of you better plan for the future as well. So, but this is a pretty interesting conversation coming up. Oh, I was throwing it to you, Allan.
Okay, well, I was like, are you done yet? All right, well, let's start with natural resources.
Talk to me.
So here you are, you're a little south of Chicago. You got a nice little stream. You got kind of a flat area, and you got good clay.
Right.
Well, you know what you can do with that good clay? You can make bricks.
Oh, because didn't they have to excavate? Because they were excavating because they needed ships to be able to. The river wasn't deep enough. They had to make the river deeper so ships could move through.
Right.
So they're pulling up all this clay.
They couldn't get the boats to get there to all this, back about 1880 or so is what we're talking about. And it is part of the Industrial Revolution of iron, steel, railways, getting, the world was now our oyster. You didn't have to be next to that other guy doing the same thing you were.
Right.
You could go like Mr. Hershey and just find you a spot and go, hey, I got cows over here. I got water over there. I'm going to make chocolate right here in the middle. And by the way, the chocolate plants are 5,000 miles away in South America.
Yeah.
But we're going to make the chocolate factory in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So kind of welcome to that era of we can do it.
Right.
So here comes George. He's making Pullman cars. He's making money. He really wants to get going. So the real pull here is he's using the resources available on hand to build and design and do what he wants to do right here in-house.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're pulling this clay out. And, I mean, I don't know if they thought of this right out of the gate, but they're pulling it out. And then they're thinking, well, we got to get rid of this stuff. And then it's like, you know what? This would make
and
great
somebody
bricks.
went, but this is good stuff. Why are we throwing this out?
Right.
And so now begins the Pullman Company headquarters, which is now the Pullman National Historical Park. If you want to go see it, it's still standing there.
Right.
And the cool thing about all of this is they did a great job. And like many industrialists of his time, it was easier to have your staff basically move into the neighborhood.
Yeah, why have to commute 50 miles a day and stuff, so he built a little town to accommodate basically this plant, because think of all the things involved in making railroad cars. It's not just, it's everything: carpentry, steel work, plumbing,
urban planning,
electrical,
social engineering,
right,
architectural design. This is a completely planned nothing was here before.
Right.
Honestly, it was just basically dirt, water, and he bought it and said, here we're going to go.
Yeah.
So a beautiful example of 19th century how to build a settlement.
Yeah, and it's not unattractive. They wanted this to be this to be a pleasant place to live. It's really charming, actually, and it was really well laid out, and it accommodated. And then let's face it, there's employees of Pullman where some make more money than others, so there are still social classes. But what's interesting is even the lowest income homes in Pullman the town of Pullman were far superior to what was out there. So it was really a nice place to live. I mean, they had parks. It had everything.
So here we go. You and I often lean into of what you do in your yard has a lot to do with the urban environment around you and the urban planning of how to get that done. And this is one of these shining examples from, again, 1880, 1890 of how to do this well.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice things to say about Pullman, but also a cautionary tale that we're going to get to. We're going to unpack it when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I'm here to clean the carpets. Most of the world is carpeted, and one day we will do the cleaning.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And thank you to everybody that's been chiming in. We've had some really good texts this morning, accompanied by pictures. And I'll try to get some of those posted after the show. If you're just tuning in, and we're talking in our great moments in building history about the town of Pullman, Illinois. We're going to jump back into that conversation in just a second. But before we do, we want to talk about our good buddy, Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. And, you talk about a dynamic personality. We need those in this world. Pullman was a dynamic personality putting together this town. And Jay Hill is the similar personality. For one thing, just right out of the gate, Jay brings optimism and enthusiasm to every home improvement project. And that's a big deal because some of the projects he does are, I would call these fun projects. If you want to do a room addition, or if you want to just, if you've budgeted for that big expansion on your home, that's a pretty fun project. If a tree falls through your roof and you are suddenly facing flooding, that's an emergency situation. But Jay can handle it all. He for one thing, he is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He's one of the top-rated roofers in the Mid-South. And what also sets Jay apart is the fact that he's a former insurance agent. And that's hugely important because if you have any damage to your home that's covered by your homeowner's insurance, that's not an easy process to navigate. A lot of times there's a lot of questions. It's not a clear path forward, and you need basically an advocate to help you. So if you think that you have an issue that may be addressed by your homeowner's insurance, Jay should be the first person you call. He'll meet with you. It's a free consultation, and he'll let you know if you have a path forward. And if you do, it's going to save you a lot of money, and it's really going to be a game changer for you. And if you don't, he'll let you know that as well. And if you need a new roof, Jay's got great financing at his disposal. From roofing to gutters to siding to windows and all major remodeling, Big M Roofing and Remodeling could do it all. And the nice part about Jay is he wants you to call him directly. And we challenge you to do that. Like I said, call him at the most inopportune moments and see if he really answers the phone. But we bet he will. Call him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. Well, before the break, we were talking in our great moments in building history about the town of Pullman, Illinois, which is basically a town that was built. It was in the south side of Chicago, built to accommodate this the popularity of the Pullman cars, which are the train cars that were really well engineered that Mr. Pullman put together. There was so much demand for these that he actually built a town for his employees to live in. This was not a haphazard little, this was a really well constructed community. It was a really pleasant place to live. And one of the things that sort of sets it apart is his use of, I would call this recycling and repurposing. They made bricks out of the clay that they excavated out of the river nearby. They used the steam and the heat that came out of the factories. Instead of just sending it off into the sky, they recirculated it and use it to heat the homes and things. I like the thinking of this community, and it was a state-of-the-art place to live. Even the the lowest income homes were better than the standard of that day. So
Well, they had power, they had sewer, and they had indoor plumbing
yeah,
and gas.
not a bad thing back in the late 1800s. So
No. But as with all fabulous things, even as well planned as this was, there was a little debacle in the stock market around 1893, if I recall correctly.
yeah, because it was right around the World's Fair. That's how I remember it.
The whole world changed in 1894. It really did.
Right.
Well, there's this other strange creature coming along that might get invented. There's now bicycles, motorcycles, something called an automobile was kind of on the way.
Yeah.
So the world has now begun to change. So demand for the Pullman car is beginning to back off a little bit. Labor's unhappy with how they're being paid, so they tried a couple of different labor fixes. But fundamentally, what began to happen was the Pullman car, the product they're known for, is now in decline.
That's the problem. And you built an entire community around this with one purpose. I don't know how you convert a train-making factory into, I don't know what that transitions into. Maybe an automobile factory, but...
well, it could have, but unfortunately, George died in 1897. So George passes away in 1897, and about that time, the Illinois Supreme Court gets involved and says, look, your little town is in the middle of Chicago.
Yeah.
So guess what, guys? You're going to become part of Chicago now.
Right.
So...
Is that eminent domain or is that something different? Because we're starting to say, you're losing your autonomy.
You're looking at company charters versus city charters versus being annexed and taxation. And, to be perfectly honest, Chicago had kind of caught them and was growing past them.
Yeah.
So absorbing the small Pullman community was somewhat inevitable.
Yeah.
And they're already in decline. They're already having issues. They've already had a massive strike. So winding up in the city kind of became an inevitability.
Well,
so much like a cheetah, they were very, very good at one thing.
Yeah.
And they did it really well for a fairly, we're going to say, decent period of time. They had about a 10-year run here. Where that car was massively popular. The people, for the time had a decent standard of living, but the world changed.
Yeah. But so what you're left with is this huge factory complex. It's not one building. It's a complex of buildings and this charming little town. I mean, the buildings hold up. There's still plenty of these buildings that are up today. It's a neat community, but there's a transition period where this place was more or less a ghost town.
You're going to get
bad planning for that.
By the time you get to the 50s, it's pretty much gone.
Right.
It's empty. It's as a matter of fact, I think there were plans to replace the entire thing with a new industrial park.
Mm-hmm.
Happily, that didn't happen for historical reasons. By 1972, the Pullman Historic District had started getting landmark status for some of these buildings, and now we have everything listed. The National Historic Landmark became a landmark district in 1969, and now what's left has been preserved. So you have about a 250-acre park or preservation area where you can still go and visit and see and look at the construction of this community and go, wow, y'all really had a vision. It was built well. Because the 1880, 1890 buildings, and even with on-site brick building, even using all the local materials, these buildings are still in great shape.
Well, to me, the lessons to be learned here, there's things we could say, great. Well, great warning tales of don't do this. You know, you got to think of the future. At some point, whatever you're making is going to become obsolete, unless you're the Hershey company, because everybody still eats chocolate.
Oh.
But I do love the notion of using the materials you have there, using the resources. I was thinking of that story we talked about a month ago of that the people that build these modular homes, where 70% of the exterior of these homes are made of basically recycled plastic, just garbage, more or less. They're taking something that is a problem, and so it's like one man's trash is another man's treasure here. Same thing here. I feel like if we could have a little more of that in our society, I just feel like to be sustainable, that's what we need to do, is just don't just scrap things. Don't just, there's a lot of useful materials and a lot of useful elements we can repurpose. So,
well, in every job, I always tell everybody, every job I ever do is 10% policy, 90% procedure.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a time for talking and thinking and a time for doing. And they're not necessarily the same times.
Right.
So I like to get the talking and thinking done up front. So in this particular case, we are looking at the planning stage where we did plan this. Well, if we're going to build the plant, we might as well build housing. If we're going to build housing, we might as well plan the community. So the policy side of this is a very great success story of let's think this through.
Right.
And let's use what we have available. In the case of modern constructions, we got a lot of plastic available.
Yeah.
Let's use it. It's what are we going to do with it?
Right.
Now, some people would say that's kicking it down the road a little bit, and that may be, but we're kicking it down the road in a useful form to what we need today.
Well, I'd rather have all that plastic being repurposed into homes and giving somebody an incentive to want our plastic instead of it winding up in the middle of the ocean floating around and killing the sea turtles.
Jellyfish don't want it.
Yeah. But it's a really good rabbit hole to go down. We highly recommend researching a little bit more about Pullman, Illinois. You'll be fascinated. When we come back, though, I hope you'll still be fascinated. I want to roundtable some thoughts about cork flooring.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I could get a fish for a 5-cent worm.
Oh, you're paying way too much for worms, man. Who's your worm guy?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can still call in or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989.
Help us break our record.
Yeah, I don't know if we broke our record, but we've had a pretty nice little array of texters. I was getting ready to talk about cork flooring, but texters always go to the front of the line, and you said there's a couple more texters that chimed in. Max.
Well, I'm going to kind of go back and forth between Brew Blaster and Angel. So Brew Blaster first was saying related to our great moments of building history. Are there any Pullman cars still preserved there?
Okay.
Yes.
Pullman cars, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about those elaborate, really nice. They were made in the late 1800s, early 1900 or whatever. By the Pullman company. I gotta believe they're all over the place, don't you, Allan?
Oh, yeah. There's actually a historic Pullman collection there in Chicago. However, if you go over to the Chattanooga Choo Choo in Chattanooga, you can stay in residential cars. You can actually sleep like a hotel. You can actually go stay in residential cars.
I'd be curious if those, that little
which is
restaurant,
a cool experience.
That little restaurant in downtown Collierville that they basically converted train cars into that. I wonder if those are Pullman cars. They look old
enough.
I don't know.
They might be.
All right, good question, Brew Blaster. And why do we assume Brew Blaster is a man? What if Brew Blaster is a female? I don't know.
It's just an easier that way.
Okay, Brew Blaster, we'd love to know more about you.
Unless it's like Agent 732.
Yeah, maybe we don't need to know. Okay, so who else chimed in?
Angel, and then we'll go back to Brew Blaster.
Oh,
okay.
Follow up with Brew Blaster.
It's
okay.
This in gridded paint with you. My dad built a ramp and added sand to the paint for grit. Context.
Okay, let's be fair here. I'm against. Somebody talked about painting. What I'm against is I will never. You'd have to kill me,
right?
But whatever. I am not ever going to put paint on a deck that is completely exposed to torrential rain and everything. I'm sorry, I've never seen it hold up. It always peels or it traps moisture and causes rotting. However, I am not at all opposed, Angel, to textured paint that's in an enclosed. It's not exposed to the rain. Even in a transitional area inside a driveway, okay, it might get a little moist, but it's not getting that. It's
not getting pounded.
And you told me you've actually seen what this surface she's talking about.
I know this ramp of which she speaks. And you would be proud of it.
Okay, especially in a church. I mean, there's high traffic. There's a lot of people. We don't need them slipping on a ramp. Ramps can get tricky. Ramps, especially depending on what kind of shoes you're wearing and all that. So, no, Angel, I'm 100% on board with you with that. So, okay.
Last one, Brew Blaster again.
Yeah.
My great room in the hallway needs carpet replaced. Several friends have recommended a surface other than carpeting. I'm concerned that later in life I may fall down, and I want something soft to fall on. Is there a surface beside carpet that you would recommend?
Yeah, I have one. What do you? I mean, I think we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Here,
well, first off, I'm going to start
on a budget.
With,
there's a budgetary.
Well,
thing.
As a person in that exact category that I don't want to fall on something, carpet is not soft. Carpet is
traps
generally
bacteria. Carpet traps moisture. Carpet gets funky.
From an impact point of view.
No, I'm
not talking about just laying down on the carpet, but that little carpet pad, by the time, unless it is new carpet pad, it's usually been pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
The carpet, when you hit the ground, is hard. I got news for you. However, if you are worried about it, new carpeting, of course, always an option. New carpet pad, always an option. There are lots of underlayment options these days we didn't have 40 years ago.
Right.
And there are overlayment options we didn't have 40 or 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to bring one up right now.
Well,
what are you about to install?
Well, I'm gonna pivot because I want this one is specific. But for you, wait, who was that? Brew Blaster.
Brew Blaster.
So Brew Blaster, my thought was if what your friends are probably talking about is getting some pre-finished hardwood flooring, very easy to put in. Take off the quarter round that's in there. Take off the the old carpet. You're going to remove the carpet strips, and it's amazingly easy to put in. However, you got to put it in correctly. Put it in, whatever. We're not going to get into the installation right now, and get yourself a nice rug with those non-skid pads underneath, those whatever those are called, the runners that
it's called non-skid.
I mean, you can have a carpet that fits a particular area a rug, that basically functions just like a carpet, but if it wears out, you get rid of it and you get another one. And also, it's a little more of a decorative statement, and it's probably thicker. It's probably going to be more padded depending on which one you get. That's my recommendation. Of course, it's easier to trip over at the if it frays, but I don't know. That's probably what people are talking about. Pre-finished hardwood flooring. So, go ahead, Max. Did you get another?
No, I was just saying that's kind of like good advice. And he also wanted to say, he also added a little bit of advice, not like asking advice, but saying for an earlier discussion, you were talking about pallets. He said that the best pallets are the ones that people use to make an American flag.
They use the stripes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know I can just tell you this, Brew Blaster. I live on a pretty busy corner. Because of my work, I wind up with a lot of pallets, and I have no problem getting rid of them. I stick them at the curb, and those babies are gone.
Yep.
Pretty quick. So people love their pallets.
Pallets are popular.
Okay. In a minute, we're going to get to my specific flooring content, but I don't want to run out of time because this is it. This is the last weekend you're going to hear about this for a while. But the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention is next weekend, folks. If you want to say hi to Allan and Max and I, we'll all be there. But we run the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. It is really fun. It's November 22nd and 23rd. So next Saturday and Sunday. And it is one of the, for one thing, it's one of the best values in entertainment here in the Mid-South. And we have something for everybody in the family. it's hard to give you an elevator pitch because there is literally nonstop activity from 10 in the morning till midnight. But it's a celebration of superheroes, science fiction, fantasy, pop culture, Legos, video gaming, panels, and is one of the best shopping experiences you're ever going to get. You get professional comic book artists there. You get professional that can draw you as a superhero. You can get commission art from really unique artists and craftspeople. And we have one-of-a-kind collectibles that you're not going to find anywhere else. And if you want to be that hero at Christmas, come to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, and you're going to find some of the best shopping for those one-of-a-kind gifts that you're ever going to get. And we're very excited because we have a great celebrity guest. If you are, well, for one thing, he's a prominent voice actor in video games and anime. However, his name is Brandon Potter, and what he's most known for is he plays Quintus from The Chosen, which is a world famous. I mean, if you know The Chosen, you know what a popular show this is, and he is one of the main characters. He's really a really fascinating villain, but in real life, Brandon Potter's a great dude, and you can come and meet him. You can talk to him and ask questions, and also, get his autograph and get your picture with him. It's a lot of fun. Tickets are super affordable, but folks, it's next weekend, so you want to get your tickets now. You can go to our website to learn more, memphiscfc.com, and you can hit the link there to get your tickets, or you can go directly to 901TIX, that's 901TIX.com, and get your tickets there. But we hope we'll see you. Allan, you're going to be set up with Dark Oak Media there, right? So
we will indeed.
Okay. What are you going to have in your booth, and what's going on with Dark Oak Media?
Well, we're getting ready to release a bunch of Victorian ghost stories.
Okay.
There's a little storytelling going on.
Okay, that sounds like it's in your wheelhouse, and you'll probably have some Tool Talk goodies, right?
We always have a few swag laying around. Come get your magnets.
Allan's the swag master. You usually have a lot of good and things for the food dude as well, right?
Oh yes,
yeah, lots of good swag. So I don't know if we have time to get to our cork flooring discussion. Let me tease it. Let me tee it up by saying this, Allan. I feel like we might have to continue this conversation, but. And it's probably good timing anyway, because next week I'm going to actually get started on this, so I'll be able to report. But I'm getting ready to install my first ever cork floor.
Mm-hmm.
These panels they're really interesting looking. They're 12 inches by 24, and the surface is unique to me. I guess I'm trying to find out the pros and cons. You've worked with cork flooring.
I have put in a cork floor before. I have.
Okay, and so folks, if you're out there and you've got experience with cork flooring, if you've got cork flooring in your home, if you've ever put it down, we really hope you'll tune in next week and give us your input, because I have no problem with the installation. The installation's going to be fine. My big question is, what is this going to look like in a year? How durable is the surface? How forgiving is it? And can I patch it if there's damage to it? But we'll address that on next week's action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio. Well, the music's playing, you guys. Thanks to everybody who texted in. We had
23 to 24 text.
Okay, that's pretty good. I don't know if that's our record, but we'll add it up and let you know next week. But it's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.
Now 25.